Welcome, brave viewers, to a chilling journey into the realm of the unknown. Tonight, we explore 5 real-life encounters with entities beyond our understanding. These personal accounts will leave you questioning the nature of reality and the boundaries between our world and the unseen. Are these merely tricks of the mind, or are they glimpses into something far more sinister? Let's dive into the darkness and uncover the truth if you dare. It was a quiet autumn evening when Daniel decided to take a stroll through the dense forest near his home. The trees stood tall and lifeless, their bare branches clawing at the dimming sky. The crisp air carried the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. As he walked along the narrow path, a strange sensation crept up his spine, an unsettling feeling that he was being watched. Then he saw it. A tall, shadowy figure stood between the trees, barely distinguishable from the darkness around it. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light, but then the figure moved gliding rather than walking. His breath hitched as an unnatural coldness settled over him. Every instinct told him to run, but his body remained frozen in place. The shadow seemed to shift, elongating as if stretching toward him. It had no discernible features, no face, no eyes, just an inky black mass that pulsed and writhed like it was alive. The forest was silent. Even the usual rustling of leaves had ceased, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Daniel's paralysis broke when the figure took a step forward. He turned and bolted, the dry leaves crunching beneath his feet as he sprinted back toward his house. The sound of rustling followed him too fast, too fluid, as though the figure was not running, but flowing after him. His chest burned with exertion, his legs growing weak, but he pushed forward, desperate to escape. He finally burst out of the woods and into his backyard. Gasping, he turned to look back, expecting to see the shadow emerging from the trees. But there was nothing. The forest stood still, silent, as though it had swallowed the entity whole. Daniel never ventured into those woods again. But sometimes, late at night, he swears he can still see a dark figure standing at the tree line, watching. Sophia had always been skeptical of the paranormal. When she first moved into her new apartment, she dismissed the strange noises as old pipes settling or the hum of distant traffic. But as the nights went on, she began to hear something else, something far more sinister. The whispers started faintly, like the wind slipping through a crack in the window. She ignored them at first, chalking them up to an overactive imagination. But soon, they grew louder, more distinct. It was as if someone or something was speaking just out of earshot. The words were unintelligible, but the tone was unmistakably menacing. One night, as she lay in bed, the whispers grew so loud that she could no longer pretend they weren't real. They came from the corner of her room, where the darkness seemed deeper than it should be. Gathering her courage, she whispered, "Who's there?" The whispers stopped. A chilling silence filled the room, pressing down on her like a weight. Just as she began to think she had imagined it all, a voice clear as day hissed directly into her ear. "You know." Sophia shot up, her heart pounding. The room was empty, but the oppressive presence lingered. That night, she packed her bags and fled, unable to shake the feeling that something had followed her. Nurse Evan had worked in the hospital for years, but he never believed in ghosts until that night. Assigned to the night shift, he was checking on a patient in room 304 when the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. The air grew thick, suffocating, as if an unseen force had entered. The patient, who had been in a coma for weeks, began to stir. His fingers twitched, his lips moved. Evan leaned in, his pulse quickening. "What did you say?" "The man in the corner," the patient whispered, his voice barely audible. A shiver ran down Evan's spine. He turned sharply, but the room was empty. The monitors flickered, and then the unthinkable happened. The patient, who had shown no signs of improvement for months, sat upright with eyes wide open, staring at something behind Evan. "Who is he?" Evan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The patient's mouth opened, but no sound came out. A single tear slipped down his cheek. Then, without warning, the monitors flatlined. The patient was gone. Later, Evan discovered that every patient who had died in room 304 had spoken of a shadowy man in the corner. The staff had a name for him, the Watcher. No one knew who or what it was, but those who had seen it never lived to tell the tale. Jake had always been fascinated by the stars. On a warm summer night, he sat on his porch gazing at the vast sky when he saw a strange object hovering just beyond the clouds. It wasn't a plane, and it certainly wasn't a satellite. It moved erratically, shifting directions in ways no human technology could replicate. Grabbing his phone, he recorded the phenomenon. The object pulsed with a bluish glow, growing brighter before vanishing in an instant. The footage was astonishing. He uploaded it online, but the next morning it had mysteriously disappeared. Even his phone glitched whenever he tried to replay the video. Then, the men in dark suits arrived. They asked him questions too specific, too probing. They warned him to forget what he had seen. When he resisted, they left him with a chilling statement. Some truths aren't meant to be known. Jake never spoke of it again, but some nights he swears he can still see the object watching from the sky. Lena had always been plagued by nightmares, but these were different. Every night she found herself in a pitch-black hallway lined with doors. From behind them, voices whispered her name, urging her to open them. But she just knew something terrible lurked behind each one. One night she finally gave in. She reached for a doorknob, her hand trembling. As she pushed it open, a monstrous, faceless entity lunged toward her. She screamed and woke up only to find her bedroom door slightly ajar. A whisper slithered through the darkness. Open the door. She never slept in that room again. These 5 terrifying encounters leave us with more questions than answers. Were they hallucinations, tricks of the mind, or glimpses into something far beyond human understanding? The unknown is vast and terrifying, and sometimes it peers back at us when we least expect it. What do you believe? Have you ever encountered something unexplainable? Let us know if you